Okay, hi gender and communication. This video is a quick overview of the second option for the second research paper, and the purpose here is to try to help you identify stuff that's happening like out there in the wild, so to speak, and then connect that to the course content that you've been learning about the last few weeks, specifically the gender communication patterns. And I'm going to try to give you some examples to see how that would work. But that's the purpose here. Okay, so you see in the first one it says give discrete, concrete, clear, specific examples of a gendered communication practice, and then explain like how that functions and what the impacts are. So I have permission to share this story for my friends, and I've used it in a couple of the pages that you're going to read about later in like the relationship stuff, but I'm going to use it here too. And I think I use it in another video because I got permission from these people. So you want to, when you talk about these things that you found in the wild, I want you to make sure that we don't know who those people are. So, because you're going to be doing some observation. Well, so these two friends of mine, they're married, and they, one of them is the female is very very feminine communicator, and the male is like super classic masculine communicator. On top of that, they're both a little introverted, but he's more introverted than she is. So I think that amplifies some of the behaviors. And what I might talk about if I was going to say, I could identify them as an example, or it'd almost be better to talk about myself, but it's a little easier for the sake of this to talk about somebody else in terms of this video. I could explain like, okay, my friend, that he's a really masculine communicator. He's not too into talking about his feelings, although he will in certain circumstances, but it's got to be really specific. He likes to do activities, and like that's how he bonds with people, and he actually doesn't talk very much, and sometimes I'm like, ooh, but he's saying the most when he's not talking at all, which is, these are all hallmarks of masculine communication. They're also related to being an introvert, but a hallmark of a masculine communicator is that they bond through activities. And so this is something that I really think is true with him, and I could talk about that, and I could talk about how that's how I got close to him is he rides horses. So I got close to him because we used to ride. They moved, unfortunately for me, but we used to ride together like at least once or twice a week. And like we go out for a 2-hour ride, and we'd talk for like this short little time period, but we'd get so much done in that few minutes. So I could explain all of this and relate it to the content, because you'll see when we get to this later, all of these are examples of masculine communication styles. So I would highlight some of those things. And I want you to pick out a few examples. It says 3. Pick out 3 specific examples. It could be from the same people, it could be from different people, it could be about you, it could be about your family. You could give it a theme if you want, but that's what I want you to do, is get them really, really clear. And I just gave you one, but I could give you others too. Like later in the semester, I talk a little bit about how the dynamic in their relationship, my two friends, this really masculine communicator, this really feminine communicator together, has created some interesting dynamics in that she used to really want to talk about her feelings all the time, and he doesn't. He can do that. He's totally, in fact, he'll talk about other people's feelings. He's like really easy to open up to, but he doesn't like to share his own stuff unless it's like super important. And it's not like he doesn't have that. He just, or even that it's uncomfortable. He just doesn't need to do it. And that's a thing in masculine communication. You just don't even almost need to do it. So that has created an interesting relationship dynamic, because you got one person that wants to share, and one person is like, that's fine, I don't need to share, you go. And so like I could talk about all those things and how that impacts their relationship. And just like the other paper, you do need to have, you're going to use your textbook for one source, and then you're going to do 2 more research articles. And I can guarantee that if I just dug around a little bit on the internet for a few minutes, in about 10-15 minutes, I'm going to find a couple articles that are good quality, that talk about the stuff that I just identified. So that's the purpose of this paper. It is going to read more like a paper. You could kind of write it like a report. Like I'm thinking I could do like 3 little sections on 3 different aspects of these people's communication style, or I could do it about myself too. Trust me, I know what it would say about me. I just don't make as good of an example because I don't I tend to be a little bit more direct than most females. So that's either it's a great example of someone who's being atypical trying to fit into a world where you aren't typical, but it's a little less clear of an example for this type of paper. So, but you could add that self-reflection in there if you want. That would be fine too. Okay, I hope that helps. And of course, you can always email me if you need help.